buzzer-beater against the Sixers, one of the most iconic shots ever. I'm not sure it's this iconic. Check out the tat.
Of all the potential sports tattoos you can get, I find this not as bad as many of them. The guy that got the Knicks logo, but in place of the Knicks logo, Zion, well, now you regret that the rest of your life. In fact, that's a memory of an awful moment. If you were in attendance at this game or you were a part of Jurassic Park, like, that is always going to be a great moment. Even if Kawhi leaves, even if they get knocked out in this round, that's still a great moment. Now, I wouldn't get any of these types of tattoos, but this is better than the Super Bowl champs before teams won a Super Bowl or something like that.
Or the Wendy's, and then you get free Wendy's for like 6 weeks. Like, that's another.
Well, those aren't sports tattoos, but yes, there are other bad tattoos.
That is correct. Bad tattoos.
Yeah, a woman's name and you get a divorce. Yeah, there are other bad tattoos.
I've seen an NBA player, I'm not going to name.
I thought I
had a woman's name tattooed in large print on his back, his fiance on his back. I saw him the next year. Hey, how's so-and-so? We not together anymore. I'm like, dude, you got to get married. You got this tattoo on your back.
What about Kenyon Martin?
So now we are talking about other tattoos.
We're talking about, but it's sports, Jenna. Just hold on a second. What about, didn't Kenyon Martin get, was it Trina's lips?
Lips, he got lips.
Yeah, Trina's lips. I don't believe Kenyon Martin and Trina are still a happily married couple. So now he's just got a pair of lips tattooed on his neck.
But he
I've been doing
act like
sports
that's
and entertainment for a long time. I don't know why he thought Trina's lips was his anyway. I mean, from my scouting report.
You wouldn't think of those were for your eyes only, right? I mean, for your lips only.
You just written them, bro. You just written them. Now you got an option to
start reading.
Back to game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. The Blazers trying to even up the series against the Warriors, and that starts with slowing down Steph Curry. Curry was left open most of the game 1 to the tune of 36 points on 9 3-pointers. Kevin Durant almost assuredly out for tonight's game again. So the Blazers will see the same team they saw in game 1 with perhaps a different game plan. Broussard, what do the Blazers have to do to get back into the series now tonight?
Well, we know defensively what they have to do. It was all the talk after game 1. They have to sell out to stop Clay and Steph and force the other guys to beat you, because none of them are great offensive players. Iguodala, Bogut, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney, any of those guys. Make them beat you. Here's the problem Portland faces. It's easier said than done, especially when they're not a good defensive team.
No, they're middle of the pack.
CJ and Lillard aren't good defensive guards. They're middle of the pack as a team.
Yeah, they're the worst defensive team we got left.
Right. They're lower third as far as stopping the three-point line. They're not physical. Like,
it's a tough matchup.
Right.
It's a tough matchup when your 2 best guys play the same position as the other team's 2 best guys, and both of them are better than both of your guys. Like, that's the reality of it. It'd be one thing if the Blazers' 2 best players were a center and power forward. Not that we really even have power forwards anymore, but a center and a wing. Might be like, hey, they're not as good as Steph and Clay, but they're not going head-to-head.
Right.
It's guard-guard versus guard-guard, and the Warriors have one of the greatest backcourts in NBA history, which is why they can, say it again?
Number 1.
Yeah,
I think that's the best backcourt.
The best backcourt in NBA history. Well, I mean, certainly.
We need to make a list.
Yeah, I mean, that
Isaiah Dumars is second, I think.
Yes,
that would
absolutely.
be the one you...
We could... I'm not prepared to make the official list just yet. Hold on, just real quick.
That's a good discussion.
It's a really good discussion. Maybe Nick's list for tomorrow. However, to finish the point just quickly, here's the problem with the Blazers. They could fix all the things they did wrong. Dame and CJ could play well.
Yep.
They can actually play defense intelligently against the Warriors, and they could cut the turnovers in half from 21 to 10 or 11 and still lose. That's the situation they find themselves in. They have to do those as a baseline to have a chance to win, and then they need some other things to go their way.
Right. I believe there's a couple things got to happen. And Chris Broussard, I remember you as a basketball player. I've seen the scouting report, seen some video. If Chris Broussard is playing in this game, you know what's getting ready to happen? Because Chris Broussard, like, listen, man, people don't think I'm tough. He getting ready to rough Steph and Clay up. Like, you ain't gonna be able to shoot all them jumpers on Chris Broussard. Now, if Damian Lillard somehow don't take the same attitude that he has when he's going against Russ and go against Steph. Now, CJ, he's a kid from Ohio. 330, that's where he's from, man. Canton, Ohio, him and LeBron. But, man, let me tell you, CJ, you got to stop being nice, man. During the game, Clay shot a 3-pointer. CJ undercut his legs a little bit. Now, it was a dangerous play. Yeah. It could have, yeah, but that was on Clay. Clay, you landing is your own responsibility. Okay. Afterwards, CJ went up and checked him. Man, you all right? And Clay shook it off. Yeah, I'm okay. Clay had a totally different attitude. Now, I understand CJ. CJ is a very clean player. But when you get to these types of games and series, man, you have to be able to send a message. That's why the Clippers made it a series. Right. That's why the Clippers came back from 31 down. Houston, they hate the Warriors. That's why they didn't win it. But, man, that's how they stayed in 2 of those games, and they lost at least playing their way, playing physical. The Portland Trail Blazers, the only way they got a chance is Chris Broussard, man. They got to rough them up, man.
That's a great point. I was a rough and tumble guy. Now, but you made a great point. What you described is a team that's happy to be there. They're happy to be there.
Wow.
And
yes.
it's because who expected Portland, even though they were the 3rd seed last year, and we know CJ talked with Durant, we want to win the championship. They're happy to be there. Damian, I mean, he was on such an emotional high
after Game 5 of
and
OKC.
after the season. He took it personal, me versus Russ. And we know it was personal. Denver, he wasn't as good, but they survived. Now, he's got to, you're right, he's got to summons that. But when you're just happy to be there, it's hard to do. And CJ, the same thing. You're right. Like, you shouldn't be picking these dudes up. You're showing them too much respect.
So is this a must-win game for the Blazers then?
Typically I'd say yes. But I thought Chris made a really good point about this earlier, which is because the Warriors are so thin at this point, because they are down 2 starters, and we know that they cannot afford Steph, Clay, Draymond, Iggy to miss even 1 game until Kevin Durant gets back.
Could they afford them to miss a quarter, Nick?
Right.
Going to the locker room with an ankle sprain or something.
And so that if they were to lose tonight, but one of those guys gets dinged, I'm not talking about anything devastating, but where you're out for a game, you are immediately back in the series, even if it happens early in Game 3. I hadn't thought about it like that because I tried, but it's for the Warriors, it's particularly relevant. It's not just, oh, if we lose our best player. Some would argue they already lost their best player, at least for the time being. It's when you're, I know Steve Kerr, strength in numbers, we're going to play 11 guys. Okay, fine. There's 4 guys you trust, 5 if you include Livingston. They can't. Portland could lose this game and still be alive because of how thin the Warriors are.
But that's bringing in injury, which we could throw into any series. If they stay healthy, I think Portland has to win this game tonight because they're not beating Golden State 4 out of 5. Then I think you'd also have the mental issue where if Golden State is now beating them 7 straight playoff games, 9 of 10. Then you'd add another one. I just think we already talked about, are they just happy to be there? I just think mentally they would be.
I believe they can lose. I don't believe it's a must win, but I need to see some clues to be able to solve the riddle. I need to be able to come up with a few things. I need either Clay or Steph have an unbelievable game, or Terry Stotts make some adjustments that we as a team, we get on that plane and been like, you know something? We got part of this solved.
All right, Chris, stick around. Coming up, are the Bucks the actual three-peater against the Sixers? One of the most iconic shots ever. I'm not sure it's this iconic. Check out the tat.
Of all the potential sports tattoos you can get, I find this not as bad as many of them. The guy that got the Knicks logo, but in place of the Knicks logo, Zion, well, now you regret that the rest of your life. In fact, that's a memory of an awful moment. If you were in attendance at this game or you were part of Jurassic Park, like, that is always going to be a great moment. Even if Kawhi leaves, even if they get knocked out in this round, that's still a great moment. Now, I wouldn't get any of these types of tattoos, but this is better than the Super Bowl champs before teams won a Super Bowl or something like that.
Or the Wendy's, and then you get free Wendy's for like 6 weeks. Like, that's another.
Well, those aren't sports tattoos, but yes, there are other bad tattoos. That is correct.
Bad tattoos.
Yeah, a woman's name and you get a divorce. Yeah, there are bad tattoos.
I've seen an NBA player. I'm not gonna name.
I thought I
had a woman's name tattooed in large print on his back, his fiance on his back. I saw him the next year. Hey, how's so and so? We not together anymore. I'm like, dude, you gotta get married. You got this tattoo on your back.
What about Kenyon Martin?
So now we are talking about other tattoos.
We're talking about, but it's sports, Jenna. Just hold on a second. What about, didn't Kenyon Martin get was it Trina's lips?
Lips, he got lips.
Yeah, Trina's lips. I don't believe Kenyon Martin and Trina are still a happily married couple. So now he's just got a pair of lips tattooed on his neck.
But he
I've been doing
act like
sports
that's
and entertainment for a long time. I don't know why he thought Trina's lips was his anyway. I mean, from my scouting report.
You wouldn't think those were for your eyes only, right?
I mean,
for your lips only.
You just